And now to officially start our meeting, if you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for joining us here this last day of September. Before we get our meeting started, I'd just like to acknowledge that Ed Humphrey is with us this morning by virtual reality. Ed, thanks for being here with us. And
thank you. We appreciate the legislature allowing us to do this.
You bet. You bet. Thank you. So we'll go right on with the agenda that's been approved for us. We've called the meeting to order. And B, I'd like I know that the regular session minutes have been provided to the board members. You've had an opportunity to review them and ask questions or clarify any comments. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the 9/23/2020 meeting?
So moved.
I'll second.
Been moved, received a second. Roll call, Holly.
Commissioner Humphrey,
Aye.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes. We'll move to C. We have a proclamation this morning, the designation of October 2020 as Disability Employment Month here in Clermont County. And I understand we have some participants that are going to come in to receive the proclamation. Claire, you want to come up? You can. Everybody's masked up.
Yes.
It's like, you know what I mean?
Come on up here, take a seat. Right here with me, okay? All right. Well, first, good morning and welcome to the Board of Commissioners meeting. We have everybody masked up here. Obviously, we understand the COVID restrictions, so we're trying to kind of stay a little bit socially distanced, but obviously, since we are masked, we can violate that distance, but a little closer than 6 feet. So if everybody is safe, we'll proceed. Okay? This morning, I have a proclamation that's been prepared for National Disability Employment Awareness Month, which is October 2020. Whereas workplaces welcoming of the talents of people, and including people with disabilities, are a critical part of our efforts to build an inclusive community. Whereas the United States economy is supported by a workforce that is notable for its diversity. Whereas ensuring that all Americans, including those with disabilities, have the opportunity to reach their full potential will strengthen and maintain the businesses in Clermont County. Whereas the United States no longer underestimates the abilities of Americans with disabilities due to the signing of the Americans with Disabilities Act in 1990. Whereas our community strives to raise awareness about disability employment issues and celebrates the many and varied contributions of people with disabilities. Whereas we welcome Ohio's Employment First Initiative philosophy, and whereas employment is the key to the economic security for Americans, and it is up to all of us, county and community leaders, employers, people with disabilities in their community, to break down attitudinal barriers that often business doors to let employees with disabilities in. Whereas we must all think ability and not disability, and encourage others to do the same. Now therefore, let it be proclaimed that we, the Clermont County Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2020 as Disabilities Employment Awareness Month in Clermont County, Ohio. This year's national theme is increasing access and opportunity. We encourage our community to celebrate this theme and call upon all Clermont County citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses and schools to reaffirm our determination to create equal employment opportunities for people with disabilities. And it's signed by David L. Painter, President of the Board of County Commissioners, Edwin H. Humphrey, Vice President, and Claire B. Corcoran, who's with me here this morning as a member of the Board of Clermont County Commissioners. Angela, on behalf of the Clermont County Board of Commissioners, I'd like to present you this official proclamation that makes Disabilities Awareness Month for October 2020. And thanks so much for being here this morning.
Thank you.
Give me your other hand. Give me this hand. Hold it this one. Okay. Here, turn around here and let them take your picture. Come right here beside me. Here you go.
There you go.
Hold that right in front. Wait a minute, Claire. Come up here.
Dan and Amber, do you guys want to step in there as well?
Sure, you guys jump in there.
Well, I'll tell you what. We'll
We're
step
gonna
over
do
here
one
with
over there.
them.
Do that over there? Okay.
This way we can get
Oh, hi, Ed.
There's Ed.
Cute.
Come on, Commissioner Payne. There you go.
Okay, you guys fill in here. We'll make the space. so
Even
that
though
you
they
tell
can't
us-
see you smile.
Tell us your name. We got it. Which way we need to go, Mike?
Understand.
I think we did. Got it? No, we're good. Thank you.
You had something you want to say?
Dan, do you and Angela have something?
Yes, Angela wanted to share a few words.
Okay.
That's okay with you all?
Yep. That's okay. That's okay.
Let her in.
She's all right.
I had a hunch.
You had a hunch she'd do that?
Exactly. Hi, I'm Angela. I'm 21. I'm currently working at Mercy Health Hospital in Anderson. I've been working there for a little over a year as a patient ambassador. Here is a brief overview of my position. You also have to know is that I love what I do, and that's very important, especially to feel happy about what you do. One of my duties is to deliver breakfast and lunch so the patients can eat. After delivering trays, I take lunch, dinner, and breakfast orders for the next day. Then we load, collect their trays, and bring them down to the dish room. I break them down, run them through, cache them, and bring them up so we won't be behind. It's a lot of work, but I love taking the baby case to the mommy, so it's definitely worth it. There were some obstacles in the way, but my parents are always on my side. When things get tough, it helps me be the better ambassador and the better person that I am today. So thank you for CDD and everyone for letting me talk about my job. Especially thank you so much to both my parents, giving me the advice and the extra support. I love you both, and you both did an amazing job raising me. Thank you for everyone for your time. I'll always remember this day.
Fantastic. What a great job, Dan.
Can parents say something real quick?
Oh,
absolutely.
Yeah, I just want to say,
Come right up here where it's close to.
yeah, I just want to say something quick. Number one, Angela wrote that herself. Yeah, she wrote it and she sent it to her mom and I the other night and said, hey, if you guys have any edits, let me know, right? She's an amazing child, but I just want to say this. You know, I've heard people say sometimes that it takes a village to raise a child, etc. I don't know about that, but I will say it takes a village and more to have a child with special needs grow up to be successful and to be happy and to have good self-esteem. And I want to tell you the kind of things that you said to me out there. It says a lot about you, about Clermont County, about the organization here. Just that you guys do that, and that what you're saying and what you said about people with disabilities, I can tell that it really means something to you. And so on behalf of my wife and I, we just thank you for the support that you're giving her now, and that the whole group of people that are involved with folks to help people with disabilities in the county have just done a terrific job. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dan.
Well, I don't know if I can add a whole lot to that. You know, it is an honor. I'm Dan Ockey, Superintendent with the Clermont County Board of Developmental Disabilities. Thanks to the commissioners. Great to see you. It's been a while. So certainly this year has certainly helped us to really kind of reflect on just some of the things that we do help in terms of helping people with disabilities find jobs, keep jobs. And the thing that just resonates for me is we have essential workers. We have folks that have been right through the thick of this virus, working right through it in our community, in hospital settings, in grocery stores, in all the different parts of our community. And that speaks extremely the volume in terms of what they have done, in terms of their dedication to the work that they do. So I can't thank our staff enough. Amber is one of our program managers in our community employment team. We got Lisa Davis from Public Relations. Janie Fancook is with us today. She's my administrative assistant. But just a great team of people. I'm very fortunate to work, as Dad mentioned, in a community like this. So thank you all today for this opportunity. So.
Thank you, and thanks for being here, and Angela, thanks so much. And keep up the good work, and keep doing what you do and what you love to do. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Okay. Isn't that nice?
Interesting.
We'll move on with the agenda. D, the consent agenda. Board, a consent agenda has been prepared for you. I know you've had it early, since Friday. Had the opportunity to review it, and I'll ask, are there any items that were included on the consent agenda that need to be moved off for further conversation or discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Been moved and received a second. Roll call, Holly.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Humphrey.
Aye.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes, we'll move on to E, the non-consent agenda, which starts on page 3 with item number 7. The recommendation, the Board of County Commissioners adopt Resolution 156-20, resolving to approve payment to vendors in the amount of $1,149,746.69, as set forth in the BCC approval invoice reports for the checks dated September 30th, 2020, BCC directed prepaid invoice report, and/or the procurement card transaction report as presented by the county auditor on 9/28/2020, and further authorizing the county auditor to issue warrants for the same pursuant to section 319.16 of the Ohio Revised Code. Do I have a motion for payment of the bills?
So moved.
I'll second.
Been moved and received a second. Roll call, Holly.
Commissioner Humphrey.
Aye.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes. Item number 8.
Good morning. Recommendation of Gerald Bryant, Director of Court Services, Clermont County Juvenile Court, with the concurrence of Thomas J. Eigel, County Administrator, to execute Amendment Number 12 to the Contract for Detention Services by and between the County of Clermont, Ohio, by and through the Board of County Commissioners of Clermont County, Ohio, and the Judge of the Clermont County Juvenile Court and the County of Adams, Ohio, by and through the Board of County Commissioners of Adams County, Ohio, and the Judge of the Adams County Juvenile Court, previously ratified by the Board of Clermont County Commissioners on 10/12/2009 and subsequently amended on all of the listed dates relative to the admissions of juveniles of the Contract for Detention Services with Adams County Juvenile Court, which represents the decrease in the allotment of 1 bed to Adams County for a guaranteed total of 1 bed at a rate of $95 per diem per bed, and any admissions of juvenile offenders in excess of the guaranteed 1 bed based on availability at a rate of $101 per diem per bed, effective 10/1/20 through 2/28/21, pursuant to and in compliance with the terms and conditions set forth therein, with all other terms and conditions of the original contract and amendments thereto to remain in full force and effect.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 8. Do I have a motion for consideration?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Been moved and received a second. Any further conversation or discussion? Roll call, Holly.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Humphrey.
Aye.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes. Before we move on to item number 9, Tom, is Julian Nisbet on with us this morning? Then I'm going to modify the agenda for a few moments here and go to item H for county staff and elected officials discussion to see if we can't get an update on the COVID-19 awareness here in Clermont County. Julianne, are you there?
Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you for having me. So just kind of wanted to give a brief update on where we're at. It's been a couple weeks since I've been able to join you, so thank you for having me this morning. Just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about where we're at in our response. Schools have been back in for probably the majority of them, hitting on close to 5 weeks. Some of them, had a little bit of a later start, so they're probably in their 4th week or so, but. Definitely having a good start heading back to school. We do have cases, which we anticipate anytime we have cases in the community, we're going to have cases in the school. But our schools have done a really fantastic job of working, kind of through their plans and what they're doing, and everything that we are putting in place is really showing us that we're having some good controls occur. We're not at this point seeing outbreaks necessarily in classrooms from person to person once we have confirmed cases. With that, occasionally we'll see spread on sports teams and in different environments, and particularly social environments outside of the school setting. But in general, that is going really well. We are kind of maintaining a stable case count of where we have been since probably about mid to end of July. We did peak up a little bit there, and we've kind of held there over the last several months. Didn't really see surges after the Labor Day weekend, which was really good. Hopefully people were practicing some social distancing there, going in, through those holiday weekends, because that was always a concern with us. I want to talk just briefly, based off of what I'm being able to see through the data, there is a possibility, and a good possibility, that we may end up going into the red again. But I want to talk a little bit about why, and kind of some of the data points around that. So our case rate per 100,000, what triggers that indicator is anytime it's above 50, and we have been above that again since probably mid to end of July, and we hover anywhere from the 60 to 80 mark at just daily, depending on what case counts are rolling in. And when those cases come in again, even though it's reported on one day, the case for symptom onset may go back several days with that as it gets put into the data set. So that has been kind of a continuous one. And then the indicator around congregate care, which we've had concerns about, and we've talked to the Ohio Department of Health about, and the governor's office, because it triggers any time that we have 50% or more of our cases that are not in a congregate care setting. And it can kind of somewhat penalize us. So if we're doing a really good job of keeping it out of our nursing homes and our other congregate settings, meaning the majority of our cases are community spread, then it trips that indicator. And the majority of our cases have been community spread since probably, going into late May to June. On it. So those two indicators, are just continuously normally above the limits. But what has increased is our emergency department visits and then our outpatient care visits. But they haven't increased really above historical kind of values. So what happened is we actually had a couple weeks where we were starting to see declines in those numbers, and they went down, and now they're kind of starting to trend back up. Outpatient visits, there's a lot of things going on around now with the fall, seasonal allergies. I'm one of those people. I have some really bad fall allergies, and so a lot of times, depending on what's going on and what you have going on, people may need to be evaluated. If they're being sent home from school because they have several symptoms, or that may mimic COVID-19. A lot of those symptoms are similar with it, or work environments who are basically saying, hey, if you're coughing and sneezing, you really probably shouldn't be here until you get some evaluation. So we are starting to see a little bit of an uptick in those outpatient visits, and then obviously the emergency department visits can kind of wax and wane. Those numbers for ED visits are still very small. So I just want to make people aware that although it may trigger the system, I am really not concerned about any type of significant increase at this point. Additionally, we are aware the Ohio Department of Health is looking at adding some additional indicators. There were a few of them that they had anticipated adding that they just haven't had complete data sets on. So over the next few weeks, they'll be probably looking at a percent positivity rate by county, also looking at the number of tests being conducted at the county level, and then really looking at the time it takes for a person to be tested until a lab result basically comes back and gets reported to the state. And then from our perspective, as far as how long it takes us to reach out and contact individuals. So sometimes there are lags in reporting going into the Ohio Disease Reporting System for various reasons. It may be normal. What we're seeing right now is a 24 to 48 hour turnaround time, which is really pretty good. We did have some lags from laboratories there when there were some capacity issues where it was taking anywhere from 10 days to 2 weeks, which is not what we want to see. But right now we're still seeing about a 24 to 48 hour turnaround time with those tests coming in, and then our policy is we reach out within 24 hours once we have that information. Sometimes it's within hours of it going into the system, depending on what time of day it hits. But something that might come in later on in the evening will get picked up in the next day's case reports, and we have contact tracers working to reach out to those individuals. Now, our policy is to reach out within 24 hours. It doesn't mean we actually get to speak to the individual. Sometimes we don't have all the demographic data. We may not have the correct phone number. So sometimes it takes a little bit of investigation work to try to track some of that information down and get out to them. But again, our case rates per 100,000 are remaining relatively stable with it. Really what it's showing us is kind of, what we're doing is working. We do need to remain vigilant though. It doesn't mean we can back down off of anything that we're doing. We need to keep those prevention measures in place as we continue to go into the fall. So that's really all I have for an update, unless you guys have questions for me.
Julianne, before we let you go, the big question in the room is, and I just want to know, where are we, what's your intel as far as this vaccination, and how is that going along?
So we are planning. The state is putting together numerous work groups. We will participate in those kind of at a state level, and then also we're doing some regional and then local planning here in Clermont County with some of our partner agencies. So we have started to work on that. At this time though, we, other than what's kind of out there publicly, the information that was put out through HHS, they're again still telling us to anticipate to plan for anywhere from beginning of November, but vaccine will be very, very limited, and it will likely target healthcare workers first doing direct patient care. It's still the same kind of word that we're hearing is that we likely will not have enough vaccines to really focus on general population until probably after the first of the year, maybe into the spring. It'll just depend on, again, they're finishing up several vaccine trials that are going on. It'll depend on if and when FDA gives approval for the use of those vaccines, and then how much is being manufactured and to kind of roll out, from the federal level to the states and then down to us locally. But definitely working on the planning process. We don't want to sit back and wait until we necessarily have all that information. We kind of have some what if scenarios, and we're going to plan for all of those to see how we will best be able to be ready.
And as far as from history, when it comes to vaccination, how far down the road of vaccination do you have to go with the general public in a state before you could say, we could lift these restrictions and it's no longer a concern? Does that have to be an immunity percentage, or how do they measure that, Julianne?
Yeah, so I think it's an excellent question, but I really wish we kind of had a better crystal ball to be able to see how far it can go. So there's several factors that depends on. We don't know what the efficacy of the vaccine will be at this point. So different vaccines are basically have different levels of effectiveness. So a vaccine typically is not 100% effective in all individuals, but you will have some vaccines that will be really, really close to that 100%, maybe 99% or so, that cause that immune response that you're looking for in your system, for your system to kind of build up those antibodies. And in other vaccines, you may only get 60% effectiveness. So I think that's one factor to take into consideration. Second factor is going to be vaccine uptake within, different communities. And then you're still going to kind of continue to look at disease transmission that's happening within communities. Again, I think we've done surprisingly well. I'm very happy with where we're at in our school environments. I think that's, I'm kind of have my fingers crossed that we continue with that trend going into the fall and doing that. So I don't think it's an easy question of a specific number. I think we're going to have to look at the combination of those numbers and what kind of are we still, even if we get a large number back, are we still seeing, a high amount of spread within, within the state, within communities to kind of look at when some of those prevention methods, measures are going to be backed off. Some of those measures we really hope people just kind of continue with as habit, not necessarily mask wearing. We don't like it any better than anybody else, although it's a very effective measure for reducing the spread. But certainly, good hand hygiene, washing our hands on it. If we put a lot of these practices in during standard cold and flu seasons, they can reduce transmission of other things, other diseases that may be, transmitted through various routes. That hand washing will definitely be effective on continuing to, when we cough and sneeze, putting it into our sleeve or into our sleeves or a tissue. Those are all good practices that we really hope everybody kind of sticks with to just help us, to reduce lots of other things in the future.
And then just one last question. Any intel on business restrictions and revision to those? I know there's a lot of talk on the media about extending the time frame that bars can actually serve patrons, and any other discussions along those lines?
Yeah, so there are some discussions that I'm aware of that are occurring, looking at some of those at the state level, and certainly we provide feedback from what we see locally going on with that. They did update the Dine Safe order to allow some type of self-service within the retail food establishments. So there are two different things that are licensed. There are retail food, which is, even though we license them locally, they're actually governed by the Ohio Department of Agriculture. And then food services, which are more of your typical restaurants. They have currently opened it up to those retail food establishments. They're going to kind of see how things go there. And then my understanding is the anticipation is to open self-service back up, so like buffet type restaurants and things, to those food service operations too. But I think we want to make sure we're seeing how things kind of go with it. There are discussions that I'm aware that are occurring around the bar issue, with the liquor shutting down service at 10 o'clock right now currently. So I think conversations are ongoing with that. They also updated the sports order to allow for more than one game to occur within a day, the way it was originally was written. Particularly when you look at a lot of times when they do tournaments and different types of things where you may have a team play more than one team in a day, that was prohibited under the prior order. That has now opened up to allow that type of activity to go on. And I think what we will kind of see is different types of things continuing to be monitored. There are conversations. I'm not sure where it's going to go, but there are also conversations about the level of quarantining within schools and the classrooms, who may not quite be hitting that 6-foot distance, but if they have other control measures in place regarding to wearing the masks, potentially barriers, other things, to see what we may be able to do to make changes. But those changes have to occur at the state level in order for us to, do something different, to allow something different to happen. We can't just, kind of come up with our own guidance here at the local level. We're going to have to wait on the state to make those changes. But definitely there are some conversations going on around it. And just continuing to look at those guidance documents that are out there, and other things to really see, is it still making sense to do some of the things that are in those.
Any other questions, board? Julianne, as always, thanks for taking time out of your schedule and providing us that update, answering our questions, and keeping us on the cutting edge of information that's coming available of COVID-19 in Clermont County. Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, I'll continue on with our non-consent agenda at item number 9.
Director with the Clermont County Water Resources Department. Item number 9 is a recommendation to accept the following grants of sewer easements with right of re-entry for repair and replacement. It will be granted and conveyed to Clermont County for utility purposes of constructing, operating, maintaining, repairing, replacing, removing, or reinstalling sewer utility lines, pumping equipment, manholes, and all incidental fixtures required for the transportation of sewage in, on, under, and across the properties of the grantors. And this is project number 6402-60116 relative to the Newtonsville Collection System Assessment Project located in Wayne Township, and further authorize the county auditor to remit payment to the grantors in amounts as outlined and as indicated on the settlement sheets as compensation for the permanent easements and rights of way granted thereby and repairs relative thereto. And this is for 4 additional easements associated with the project, so that brings our total to 17 of the 44 easements we need to construct the project.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 9. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
A second.
Been moved, received a second. Any further conversation or questions for Lyle? Roll call, Holly.
Commissioner Humphrey,
Aye.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Painter,
Yes. Thank you, Lyle.
Thank you.
Item number 10.
Good morning. I'm William Harris, Director of the Clermont Transportation Connection. Item number 10 is the recommendation of William Harris, Director of Clermont Transportation Connection, with concurrence of Greg Bickford, Assistant County Administrator, to adopt resolution number 157-20, resolving to authorize Thomas J. Eigel, County Administrator, to execute the grant contract number of OTPP-0067-GRF-211 by and between the Board of Clermont County Commissioners on behalf of the Clermont Transportation Connection and the Ohio Department of Transportation, 1980 West Broad Street, Columbus, Ohio, 43223, for the Ohio State Fiscal Year 2021 Ohio Transit Partnership Program in the amount of $173,000 pursuant to Ohio Department of Transportation Award Letter dated 9/10/2020, and in concert with the grant application ratified by the Board of County Commissioners on 5/29/2020 relative thereto.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 10. Do I have a motion for approval?
Make the motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further conversation for, or questions for Mr. Harris? Roll call, Holly.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Humphrey,
Aye.
Commissioner Painter,
Yes. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
Item number 11.
Morning.
Morning.
Very Smart Community and Economic Development. I have a recommendation of Michael McNamara, Director, Department of Community and Economic Development, with the concurrence of Greg Bickford, Assistant County Administrator, to execute change order number 1 to the contract with Kramer and Feldman, Inc., located at 7363 Production Drive, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45237. Previously ratified by the Board of County Commissioners on June 3rd, 2020, for project number 2018-04 relative to the Franklin Township Fire and EMS Building Improvements Project in concert with the Clermont County Community Development Block Grant for fiscal year 2018, which represents an increase in the amount of $8,050 for a total adjusted contract price to date of $256,450 for additions, deletions, and or modifications thereto as defined therein, and contingent upon the issuance and release of the required purchase order therefore.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 11. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
A second.
It's been moved and received a second. Any further conversation or discussion? Roll call, Holly.
Commissioner Humphrey,
Aye.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sherry. Item number 12.
Good morning.
Morning.
Recommendation of Linda L. Fraley, Clermont County Auditor, to authorize David L. Painter, President of the Board of County Commissioners, to execute an additional AMS Merrick location addendum for the Clermont County Sheriff with Automated Merchant Systems Incorporated in Lake Mary, Florida, and Merrick Bank Corporation in Woodbury, New York, previously ratified by the Board of County Commissioners on December 18th, 2019, for processing payments by financial transaction advice effective upon execution pursuant to the terms and conditions set forth therein and in compliance with sections 301.28 and 307.862 of the Ohio Revised Code.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 12. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Been moved and it's received a second. Any further conversations or discussion? Just one question. Will this let patrons that have to come over to the Clermont County Sheriff's Office pay by, I assume, credit card?
Yes.
So this will actually be point of sale?
Yes.
Fantastic. Any further clarification, Board? Roll call, Holly.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Humphrey.
Aye.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item number 13. Good morning, Treasurer.
Good morning. I'm Jeannie Zermley, Clermont County Treasurer. Item 13 is the recommendation of Jeannie M. Zermley, Clermont County Treasurer, with the concurrence of Thomas J. Eigel, County Administrator, to authorize David L. Painter, President of the Board of County Commissioners, to execute the Treasury Management Services Pricing Second Amendment by and between the County of Clermont, Ohio and PNC Bank National Association, 300 Fifth Avenue, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 15222, previously ratified by the Board of County Commissioners on October 2nd, 2019, to provide additional services identified in Exhibit B entitled New Fees relative to the banking accounts necessary for the processing of lockbox payment for the Clermont County Treasurer and the Clermont County Water Resources Department pursuant to and in compliance with Sections 307.862, 321.03, and 323.611 of the Ohio Revised Code, with all other terms and conditions of the referenced contract thereto to remain in full force and effect.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 13. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
I'll second.
Been moved and received a second. Any further conversation or discussion? Roll call, Holly.
Commissioner Humphrey.
Aye.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 14.
Good morning.
I'm Wade. How are you?
Wonderful. Yourselves?
Good.
Agenda item number 14 is my recommendation with the concurrence of Mr. Thomas J. Eigel, County Administrator, to adopt a revised table of organization for the Facilities Management Department as outlined below in Exhibit A, attached thereto and made a part thereof, effective September 30th, 2020, and further to authorize the update of the appropriate internet links and appendices accordingly. This recommendation involves the removal of the Assistant Director and Security Locksmith positions and adds a System Cabling Coordinator and a Facilities Management Supervisor.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 14. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Been moved and received a second. Any further conversation? Roll call, Holly.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Humphrey.
Aye.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes. Item number 15.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 15 is a recommendation of Mr. Thomas J. Eigel, County Administrator, to approve the following personnel actions. This will be the removal of Errol Lloyd, Security Locksmith, termination. This is ending his part-time intermittent unclassified appointment effective 9/30/2020.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 15 for the termination of Errol Lloyd, or is it Lloyd Errol?
Errol Lloyd.
Errol
Correct.
Lloyd.
Yes, sir.
Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
I'll second.
Been moved and received a second. Anything further? Roll call, Holly.
Commissioner Humphrey.
Aye.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wade. Item number 16.
Item 16 is a recommendation to reappoint Monica Royal Fisher to serve on the Area 12 Workforce Investment Board for the term of 7/1/2020 through 6/30/2023 pursuant to Section 107 of the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 16 to reappoint Monica Royal Fisher onto the Area 12 Workforce Investment Board. Do I have a motion for
Make
approval?
the motion.
Second.
It's been moved and received a second. Anything further? I'd just like to say Monica has served on the Area 12 Workforce Investment Board, as do I. She has been a valued member of that board and has really, jumped in from the very onset and made a positive impact. So glad to see that she's willing to do that again. Roll call, Holly.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Humphrey.
Aye.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes. Item number 17.
Morning, Commissioners. Michael McNamara, Community and Economic Development Director. Item number 17 is recommendation of Michael McNamara, Director of Clermont County Department of Community and Economic Development, that the Board of County Commissioners resolve to appoint Dale Rowe, 750 US 50 Milford, Ohio, 45150, to serve on the Board of Directors of the Clermont County Port Authority to succeed the unexpired term of Matt Van Zant, effective for the term of 9/30/2020 through 8/19/2023.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 17 that requests appointment of Dale Rowe to the Port Authority on the Board of Directors. Do I have a motion for appointment?
So moved.
I'll second that appointment. Any further conversation or discussion? Roll call, Holly.
Commissioner Humphrey,
Aye.
Commissioner Painter,
Yes?
Commissioner Corcoran,
Abstain.
I know Mr. Rowe is here today with you. Is that correct? Is he sitting behind you there? Mr. Rowe, thanks so much for your willingness to serve on the Board of Directors of the Port Authority. We're glad that you came and glad to have you.
Thank you for the honor, and hopefully 50 years of experience I can be helpful to the county.
And we believe that too. Ed? Go ahead.
I'm sure you will.
You bet.
Hi, Ed.
Look forward.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being here this morning, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay.
You're sorry.
Item number 18.
Thank you, Commissioners. Recommendation of Michael McNamara, Director, Department of Community and Economic Development, with the concurrence of Greg Bickford, Assistant County Administrator, to adopt Resolution 158-20, resolving to approve the execution of an Ohio Enterprise Zone Agreement by and between the Board of Trustees of Williamsburg Township, Clermont County, Ohio, and the Board of Commissioners of Clermont County, Ohio, Nestle Purina Pet Care Company, a Missouri corporation with its main offices located at 1 Checkerboard Square, St. Louis, Missouri, 63164, for the granting of 100% tax exemption for 15 years for the increase in assessed valuation of real property constituting the project site, as identified in the referenced agreement. Said exemptions commencing no later than tax year 2025 and not extending beyond tax year 2039, pursuant to Section 5709.61 through 5709.69, inclusive of the Ohio Revised Code, and in compliance with the terms and conditions set forth therein, in consideration of the investment to be made by Nestle Purina for the expansion and retention of economic development, as well as the preservation and creation of employment opportunities within the designated boundaries of the Rural Jobs and Enterprise Zone in the County of Clermont, Ohio, and to direct the clerk of the board to forward the aforementioned agreement by and between the Board of Trustees of Williamsburg Township, Clermont County, Ohio, and the Board of Commissioners of Clermont County, Ohio, Nestle Purina Pet Care Company, to the Ohio Development Services Agency, the Ohio Department of Taxation, and the Clermont County Auditor. So what this means is that the local school board in Williamsburg Township are offering a tax abatement to a company that they hope will locate at South Afton. Taxes will continue to be paid in the same manner that they would always be paid on the current value of the land. The only portion that is being abated for a period of time will be the additional value placed on the land by the developer. The school board will receive annual payments in lieu of the regular taxes for the period of the agreement. And this is a tool used in all of Ohio's 88 counties in order to attract jobs and business. And Williamsburg Township and the Williamsburg local schools are asking the commissioners to pass this agreement today.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 18. Do I have a motion for approval?
I will make that motion.
Second.
Then moved and received a second. Any further conversation or discussion? Before we move forward, I noted that Barry Henning is here today from Williamsburg Township, and I understand that you all have considered this particular tax exemption, tax abatement for an enterprise zone, and that it has been approved at Williamsburg Township. Is that correct?
It is correct. We've had extensive talk on it, and yes, we did pass a resolution to approve it.
Okay. And then I understand that Matt Early is on with us here by Zoom. Is that correct?
Yes, Commissioner, I'm on here. How are you this morning?
Fantastic. And you, Matt? Good to see you. Matt,
Yes, on behalf of the board, this as well as our school compensation agreement, and are looking forward and hopeful that Nestle Purina does locate in South Afton for the resources that could be provided to our school district and just the workforce development for our entire region. So thank you for considering this.
Thank you. And before we move away from that, I would say that the Board of Clermont, I'll speak as the board president, the Board of Clermont County Commissioners. We are here to help communities, and Williamsburg Township, obviously the village of Williamsburg, and Williamsburg school systems. We are here to assist you in making these kind of things happen. You know, that's what this joint venture is all about. You know, it's about all of us, being on the same page and moving to ensure that, you have the opportunities, obviously, in your community that will bring economic development. So any further conversations or discussion, board? Roll call, Holly.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Humphrey.
Aye.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Tom, on the agenda, we'll go to F. Are there any additions to the agenda?
No, sir, not this morning.
Okay. Then we will go to G. Are we still in need of an executive session?
No, I was notified by the prosecuting attorney this morning that we have, do no longer need an executive session.
Okay. Then I will go back to H, county staff elected official discussions. Any county staff or elected officials that want to address the board this morning? Hearing none, I will go to I for member comments. Board members, any comments today about today's meeting that you'd like to make?
No comments.
Talking about today's meeting, I just warn all of us that we need to be cautious and careful and wear our masks and social distance and all the things that will keep us safe.
Okay.
And just to reflect back that yesterday, since our session was today, that we could not announce it, but yesterday was Gold Star Mother's Day in recognition to all the mothers who have lost loved ones to this country.
You bet. And before I ask for a motion to adjourn, I'd just like to share a statement here from the board. The Board of Clermont County Commissioners today has approved the execution of an Ohio Rural Enterprise Zone Agreement between the Board of Trustees of Williamsburg Township, Clermont County Commissioners and Williamsburg Local Schools, and Nestle Purina Pet Care Company. The project will now be forwarded on to the Ohio Development Services Agency and the Ohio Department of Taxation and the Clermont County Auditor for approval. I'd just like to thank all of those, Williamsburg Township, Village of Williamsburg, Williamsburg Schools, and Nestle Purina Pet Care Division that have worked so hard to make this opportunity available for consideration. So thank you very much.
And hats off to our staff, too, who worked so hard on this for so long to make sure.
You bet.
Good idea.
Any other comments? Then I would ask for a motion to adjourn our meeting. Oh, hold on.
Sorry, I believe there was a request maybe to possibly move next week's session to 1 o'clock p.m. Is that correct, Holly?
That's correct. There was
Oh,
some
yes, that was my request. I forgot to bring that forward.
Okay. Glad we caught that. Okay.
Thank you.
So we,
So I have a conflict at 10 o'clock in the morning. I would like to move it to 1 o'clock in the afternoon if that's possible.
Okay. And do we need a motion for that, Tom? I would assume we do. So first I would ask for a motion to modify the agenda to consider changing the meeting time for next week. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion. I'll second that.
Been moved and received a second. Roll call, Holly.
Commissioner Humphrey.
Aye.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes. And then the resolution is to move our meeting next week to 1 o'clock
Correct.
p.m.
Correct.
And you will make proper notification to all the outlets for that?
Correct. We will ensure that the media calendar is released and updated, as well as all of the internet links.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the time change of our meeting next week to 1 o'clock p.m.?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Been moved and received a second. Roll call, Holly.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Humphrey.
Aye.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes. Board members, anything else to come before the meeting today? Then I'd I'd ask for a motion to adjourn our meeting.
Pick that up. I was concerned, I missed it. Thank you, John.
Ed, we didn't catch what you said. Could you repeat that?
Yes, I was thanking Tom for bringing that up. I forgot to ask for that,
Oh,
and I appreciate it. Thank you.
no problem.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second to adjourn? Okay. Roll call, Holly?
Commissioner Humphrey?
Aye.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes. That concludes our meeting for today. This is the last day of September 2020. Thanks for tuning in today, if you were there by virtual reality, and to all those who participated in the meeting this morning. Thanks so much. We will see you next week at 1:00 p.m. Thank you.